You'll find out why De Niro got a black eye in a few minutes. Before we dive into the story, let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the latest stories. Jimmy greeted his guest with his signature smile, teetering between warmth and mockery. Robert, welcome. You look, as always, like $1,000,000. Well, maybe with a little stamp on your face. He theatrically pointed at the bruise and laughed. What's that battle scar? You're not filming a new Taxi Driver, are you? The audience laughed, but it was a nervous chuckle. De Niro played along, his eyes glinting with humor, though his voice carried caution. Jimmy, you know how it goes. A hotel shelf decided I was too cocky. Bumped into it. Happens, he replied, shrugging. The audience roared with genuine laughter this time, and the tension eased slightly. Ellen exhaled, but her unease lingered. De Niro was a master of diplomacy, but Kimmel had a reputation for digging deeper than allowed. A shelf, huh? Kimmel raised an eyebrow, his smile widening. All right, we'll leave the shelves alone. For now, let's talk Shadows of Truth. This film is something special, right? Your character's a veteran seeking redemption. Tell us, how did you prepare for this role? Must have taken a lot of... He paused. Emotional bruises. De Niro nodded, his face growing more serious. He leaned back in his chair, his voice low and resonant. Shadows of Truth is about a man trying to find meaning after life has crushed him. My character doesn't say much, but his actions are his truth. I spoke with veterans, listened to their stories. It was tough, but necessary. This film is about respect for those who keep fighting. The audience applauded, feeling the weight of his words. Kimmel nodded, but his eyes gleamed, like he was gearing up for his next strike. That's powerful, Robert. Really powerful, he said, but his tone shifted abruptly. But let's circle back to that bruise. A shelf? Really? He leaned forward, his smile turning almost sinister. There are rumors it wasn't a shelf. They say you got into some trouble. Maybe on set, or... He paused theatrically. Maybe someone who doesn't like your political views? You're not afraid to speak your mind, are you? The audience gasped. Backstage, Ellen nearly dropped her tablet. She turned to the head producer, Tom, who stood nearby, nervously adjusting his headset. That wasn't in the script, she hissed. We had an agreement. Tom just shrugged, his face pale. Jimmy does what he wants. That's his style. De Niro gripped the armrests of his chair, his gaze sharpening, but he kept his composure. Jimmy, I said it was a shelf, and I'm here to talk about the film. Let's respect each other, okay? The audience cheered in support, but Kimmel didn't back down. He leaned back in his chair, his smile growing bolder. Oh, Robert, don't be so mysterious. People want the truth. You're a legend. You're not afraid of the truth, right? He turned to the audience. Don't you all want to know what happened to our Robert? Who dared to take a swing at De Niro himself? The audience laughed nervously, but the tension was palpable. Cameras hummed, capturing every expression on the actor's face. De Niro tilted his head, his eyes narrowing. Jimmy, his voice was quiet but sharp, I respect your work. But there are boundaries. You know what we agreed on. Let's talk about Shadows of Truth, about something that matters. Kimmel laughed, raising his hands in mock surrender. Okay, I get it. You're a tough guy, Robert. But people talk. They say you're not as saintly as you seem. That bruise? Maybe it's from someone you ticked off with your statements? About politics, Hollywood, cancel culture? You love throwing around big words, don't you? The audience fell silent. The tension in the studio became unbearable, like the air thickening before a storm. Backstage, Ellen whispered to Tom, Do something. He's ruining the show. But Tom just shook his head, his eyes glued to the monitor. De Niro slowly rose from his chair. His movements were calm but brimming with strength. The cameras zoomed in, catching every detail. Jimmy, he said, his voice cutting through the air. I've lived a long life. I've made mistakes, but I've always tried to be honest. You want a show? You've got one. But I won't be part of this circus. He walked toward the edge of the stage, and the audience erupted in applause. Some shouted, Bravo, Robert! Kimmel, caught off guard, tried to salvage the moment. Robert, come on, it's just a joke. Don't go. But De Niro didn't turn back. He disappeared backstage, leaving Kimmel alone under the spotlights. The audience buzzed, producers scrambled, and Ellen rushed after the actor, her face pale with shock. Backstage, De Niro stopped, his breathing steady but his eyes burning with fire. "I won't let myself be humiliated," he said quietly. "Not for ratings, not for a show." Ellen nodded, her voice trembling. "Robert, this is going to blow up online." Social media was already ablaze. Clips from the show spread across X with hashtags De Niro stands, tall and Yar Kimmel over the line. Users wrote, "De Niro just showed what dignity looks like. Shame on you, Kimmel." But this was just the beginning. Something told everyone this night wouldn't just be a scandal. It would be a moment that made people question, where's the line between entertainment and respect? And what really caused De Niro's bruise will shock you, so stay tuned. Backstage at Jimmy Kimmel Live, chaos reigned. Robert De Niro stood in a narrow hallway, his face calm, but his eyes blazing with resolve. Ellen, his publicist, hovered nearby, clutching her phone, which buzzed with X notifications. Hashtags, Orsh, De Niro stands, tall and Kimmel over. The line were trending, and clips of his exit from the stage were spreading like wildfire. But what happened next made everyone hold their breath. On stage, Jimmy Kimmel, left alone, tried to salvage the broadcast. His smile was strained, his voice slightly shaky as he addressed the audience. "Well, looks like Robert's not in the mood for jokes tonight," he said, trying to lighten the mood. The audience responded with nervous laughter, but the tension didn't dissipate. Kimmel leaned toward the camera, his eyes glinting. "You know, I just wanted to give you the truth. De Niro's a legend, but it seems he's hiding something juicy. Maybe that bruise isn't just from a shelf. Maybe it's some Hollywood drama." He winked, but his words carried a sinister edge. "Let's be real. Guys like him love playing heroes on screen, but in real life, who knows?" The audience fell silent. Some whispered in outrage, and cameras caught a few disapproving looks in the crowd. Backstage, Ellen turned to De Niro, her face pale. "Robert, did you hear that? He's not stopping," she whispered, showing him the live feed on her phone. De Niro clenched his jaw, his gaze cold as steel. He was silent for a few seconds, then said quietly, "I'm going back." Ellen gasped. "What? Robert, you don't have to. He's digging his own grave." "No," De Niro cut her off, his voice brimming with strength. "If he wants the truth, he'll get it, but on my terms." The crew froze as De Niro strode back toward the stage. Producer Tom, still trying to calm the directors, gaped. "He's going back?" Tom whispered, his voice trembling with a mix of panic and excitement. "This is either going to be a disaster or the best show in history." When De Niro reappeared on stage, the audience erupted in applause. They stood, chanting his name. Kimmel, caught off guard, tried to mask his surprise with his trademark smile. "Whoa, Robert! You're back!" he exclaimed, but his voice betrayed uncertainty. "Decided to give us another shot?" De Niro sat down, his posture calm but his gaze sharp as a blade. He didn't respond immediately, letting the tension build. Cameras hummed, capturing every move, and the audience hushed in anticipation. "Jimmy," he began, his voice low and piercing. "You want the truth about this bruise? Fine, I'll tell you. But first, I want you to understand something. I came here to talk about Shadows of Truth, a film about a man fighting for his dignity. And you turned it into a circus. You think you can dig into my life for ratings? You're wrong." The audience erupted in applause, some shouting, "Tell him, Robert." Kimmel laughed nervously, trying to regain control. "Robert, it's a show. People want to know what's going on behind the scenes. Come on, tell us about that bruise. It's not really a shelf, is it?" De Niro raised his hand, silencing him. The audience quieted, sensing a pivotal moment. "You want the truth?" he said, his voice calm but powerful. "All right, I got this bruise defending someone. On the set of Shadows of Truth, a crew member was in trouble. They were being bullied, humiliated, by someone who thinks power gives them the right to trample others. I stepped in. And yeah, I took a hit. But I don't regret it. Know why? Because I believe respect isn't just a word. It's a choice. And I made mine. The audience exploded in applause, people rising to their feet, chanting his name. Kimmel sat stunned, his smile gone. He tried to speak, but De Niro pressed on, his voice gaining strength. You, Jimmy, think you can humiliate people for laughs? That you can cross lines because it's just a show? This isn't a show, it's life. And if you don't respect others, you don't respect yourself. Kimmel opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. The audience kept cheering, and cameras captured every moment. De Niro stood, his presence radiating dignity. I've said what I needed to say, he concluded. Now I'm leaving. Not for me, but because this place doesn't deserve my story. He turned and walked off the stage, this time for good. The audience stood, their applause thundering. Kimmel was left alone, his face pale, his smile forced. He tried to joke to diffuse the tension, but his words drowned in the crowd's outrage. Backstage, Ellen hugged De Niro, her eyes shining with admiration. Robert, you just changed everything, she said, her voice trembling. This is going to blow up online. And she was right. On X, new hashtags surged. De Niro speaks, truth and Sar Kimmel exposed. Users wrote, Robert De Niro is a true hero. Kimmel just got schooled on respect. Celebrities, from Chris Evans to Octavia Spencer, voiced support, and media outlets began dissecting the incident, calling it a moment that will change television. The next day, Jimmy Kimmel Live's ratings plummeted. Sponsors hinted at reviewing contracts, and rumors of an internal investigation surfaced. Meanwhile, De Niro received a wave of support. Veterans from the film thanked him in letters, and fans flooded X with messages of admiration for his principles. This night wasn't just a scandal, it was a turning point. It forced everyone to ask, where's the line between entertainment and humiliation? And are we willing to pay the price for truth? What do you think of De Niro's stand? Would you support him? Share your thoughts in the comments and spread this story.